I'm just kidding. I know you're in New York. I just wanted to get as many Chicago flat A's in as I could. Good morning, Jill Weinberg.
It worked. It worked.
Good morning.
Congrats. The first person I'm speaking to on the day of the publication.
Yay!
Whoa! Aw, you're honored.
Yeah, I'll say. And by the way, you're so sweet. People were being mean to me on Twitter, and you always come to my defense. What did you
Well,
tweet?
you don't deserve any meanness in your life.
Exactly.
You haven't ever done anything that's mean, so why should you?
That is a total not a fact. But anyway, listen. You tweeted you have the most devoted listeners, including me, who adore and admire you. Ignore him, her, or whatever it is that sent that. Thank you. And I love how you and all the other legal ladies and lads always have each other's backs. You know, Glenn Kirshner and others. And I know they all raving about your book. I'm so excited to read this, Jill. It really is, because you're my friend. I sort of am like, but wow. I mean, the people that not just blurb the book, but including Oprah that just are raving about it. You must be over the moon. I'm
pretty excited. It's very, very exciting. I'm nervous, too, because I'll be at the Strand bookstore tonight.
Wow.
No, tomorrow night. And
Okay.
that's an in-person, where people, some of whom will have already started reading or have finished reading the book. And it's always scary, will people like it? I mean, I put myself out there seriously in talking about very personal things, not just the historic things. It's a combination of the history, a continuation of from the president's, all the president's men, and then it combines it a little bit with hidden figures and the hurdles that women have had to overcome to be successful.
I just was going to say, Jill, I loved you said this is a combo of all the president's men and hidden figures, and of course we just lost.
Alice Johnson.
Yes, that from Hidden Figures.
Yes.
I mean, what a timely. I mean, not just what's happening with Trump, but what a timely thing. But I love that.
My condolences, of course, to her family. She was 101, but look what she did when she did it. It was amazing, and it was actually my editor, Paul Golub, who said that about the book, and I really responded viscerally to that. I thought that was a really good understanding of what I was doing, trying to capture the era, not just the facts of the era. And that's why the title is The Watergate Girl, because in the 70s, we were called girls.
Yes.
And so, that's why, there's just a lot of personal stuff in that, a lot of history in it, too. So,
this, it's interesting you say stuff like that. There's things in this that make us gasp now in the post, Me Too, but you were called the mini-skirted lawyer by the press. By the press during Watergate, you said at the time, women not permitted to wear pants in the courtroom.
Exactly. It was my first trial was in Alaska, and I could not wear pants. It was January. It was 30 below zero.
Oh, my God.
And I had to walk from the hotel to the courthouse wearing a skirt.
Oh, my God.
So, that's how it was. I mean, those were the rules back then. And, Me Too, there was no sisterhood back then. So I think that goes back to, all the sisters-in-law on MSNBC and having each other's back is partly because we didn't have anyone back then who would have our back. And although once in the Watergate trial, the students at Columbia Law School, my alma mater, actually wrote a letter to Judge Chirica complaining about a comment he made to me that was very sexist. And it was the only time I've ever had that kind of public support where, and Judge Chirica called me into chambers and apologized to me based on that letter. He hadn't meant it to be offensive. It's sort of just how people talked back then. And but I was so glad to have some support from anywhere saying, this is wrong, this is bad. And Leanne Jaworski used to call me the lady lawyer. And I used to complain to him all the time, Leanne, when you're introducing me to people, if you say I'm a lawyer, they'll figure the other part.
It's kind of obvious.
Sounds like something Jerry Lewis would say. Hey, lady lawyer.
Exactly.
Jill, it strikes me talking to you. It's like everything old is new again. Isn't it amazing how timely this book is, particularly today, that it's coming out today? You said, The book talks about hurdles women have to jump to succeed.
Right.
Sexism then and now, Harvey Weinstein and Me Too, plus the comparison of Trump purges and Nixon revenge.
Right, right, exactly. And it's a sad thing about the Harvey Weinstein case, and I just heard this this morning. It took 90 women complaining to get 2 convictions. I mean, he was acquitted on several of the counts. He was convicted, and that's he's in jail. He was taken. Well, actually, he was diverted to a hospital,
Right.
but it's a prison hospital, so he's incarcerated, and that is good, and he deserves it. But isn't it a shame that it took 20 years from the time of complaints, and it took having famous people, actresses, come forward. I mean, there are so many others that don't get the kind of justice that these women got in part. I mean, I'm sure they're all very happy that he has been held accountable in the same way that I think all of your listeners would like to see the president held accountable. But the president got away with it. He made comments. He had 18 women who filed complaints against him, and nothing. So women have not come all the way to where we need to be for equality. It's good that we're on this path, but when I talk to students in law schools and universities and hear the stories of the kind of discrimination they still face, the kind of comments they have to endure, when I started and only 4% of lawyers were women, you could almost understand that people just didn't get it yet. They didn't understand it. But nowadays, half of every class is female. Why is it still a problem?
Jill, I really, maybe because you and I we're soulmates because we're happy clappy at heart. We have to believe justice is coming. That, when I look at how pissed women were about what happened to Hillary Clinton and the misogyny in 2016 and the amount of women that showed up for the Women's March and how female-powered the blue wave was in 2018, and Trump basically now just saying the 2 female Supreme Court justices need to shut up and recuse themselves from all his cases, right? That I just have to believe there is a blue female tsunami coming in 2020.
Right, and how about the pressure that Klobuchar and Warren should
Thank you.
get out of the race?
Two women need to get out, not the 2 billionaires, and the 2
Right,
female
exactly.
Supreme Court justices need to shut up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we aren't there yet. And if my book can bring attention to the fact that women still have to be on the alert, that is a good outcome because there are ways of dealing with it. And you have to know the different strategies for how to combat what you will likely encounter in the workplace.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
Yeah. Jill, you obviously your book, it says it was a time much like today when Americans feared for the future of their democracy and women stood up for equal treatment. First of all, how did you find yourself the only woman on this the Watergate prosecution team? Tell I don't know exactly the details of that story.
Well, I mean, being the only woman wasn't unusual because of the few women who did go to law school, almost none of them became litigators. So the chances of having another female trial attorney were, infinitesimal in terms of percentages. I had been very lucky when I graduated law school to get a job at the Department of Justice, which I did through networking. I met someone who worked in the organized crime section, and he gave my resume to the head of the section, and they hired me. But let me just say, a year later, I was still doing appeals, which is where all lawyers in the department start, in organized crime anyway. But then you move to trials because you're hired as a trial attorney. A year after I was hired, I was still doing appeals, and the men were doing trials. And I had no role model. I had no one to consult with. And so I just thought, well, the only thing I can do is talk to the boss. And I went to the head of the section and said, how come I'm still doing appeals? And he said, well, because you're a girl. You'd be much more vulnerable. In appeals, only the lawyers are in the courtroom. In a trial, the mafia will be in court with you, and you'd be much more vulnerable than the men. And that is such nonsense. And I said to him, well, what didn't you notice about me when you hired me as a trial attorney? And So standing up for myself got me my first trial. They finally let me do it, and that was thanks to the most wonderful mentor anyone has ever had, Chuck Ruff, who went on to become the third special Watergate prosecutor and the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia, another job that's quite relevant these days. And he had a trial coming up in Alaska and said, okay, you're coming with me. You'll second chair this trial. And that's how it happened.
Wow. And straight line, Jill, to, it just, I swear, there's something eerie about the timing of all this. And, the Weinstein women standing up for themselves, like, you stood up for yourself back then. I just watched On the Basis of Sex, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Oh, it's wonderful.
movie,
Wonderful.
isn't
I
it?
liked it.
But
Yeah.
straight line to today, Jill, we're, Trump's telling her and Sotomayor to shut up and recuse themselves. How do you think RBG is going to take that? The same as Judge Amy Berman Jackson saying, yeah, shove it, Roger Stone. I'm not recusing myself from your trial.
No, I mean, it's all nonsense. That kind of stuff, the Roger Stone stuff, is typical defense. And I don't take that one necessarily as a sexist act. But you're right; it can't be coincidence that the two people asked to recuse are the two of the women on the court. Luckily, we have more than two this time, and there's some strength in numbers. I'll say that. They say it takes at least 3 women before women are heard in any organization.
Yeah, you know what? That's a new T-shirt, Travis. J'accuse. We will not recuse. Vive la résistance. All right, just spitballing here.
Yeah.
I loved your pin about you've done it for how many years? I loved your pin about dancing, doing it backwards in high heels.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the main pin that I wear during the book tour, because there's a phrase that was used about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, saying that Ginger Rogers basically had to do everything better than Fred. She had to dance backwards and in high heels to be considered half as good as he was.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's true of women in the professions. We've had to outperform in order to be recognized. And, I look forward to the day when we'll all be treated equally and we'll be judged by the same standards, where in an associate evaluation session, men won't be considered assertive and women bitches for the same behavior.
Thank you. Whether it's on a debate stage or in a courtrum, you're absolutely right, Jill. You inspire me. I'm so proud of you. Listen. Last time I used Jan Schakowsky as bait to get you to do Chicago Sexy Liberal. Now this year I'm using you as bait to get Jan Schakowsky to come, because you are my Oprah-approved friend.
Yes, I'm in for sure, and I know she will be if she can possibly fit it in.
July 11th. It hasn't even been announced yet. July 11th in Chicago, right before the DNC. And I just honestly, first time I saw you on TV, I said I feel like I'm going to know her. She feels like a soul sister. I am just so you just do everything with such grace and class and elegance and.
Thank you.
And you make me.
I hope I'll get to California on the book tour. I'm going to be in California for the Impact Fund dinner on May 12th, and at the Passage Bookstore at the Ferry on May 12th. But those are San Francisco, and some friends are trying to arrange something in L.A. for the 13th.
Oh.
Or for the 14th.
Let's do it at my house. Dinner party. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're for sure.
And then we're going to totally get you sauced and do the happy hour and talk about old Watergate stories.
Oh, there's some good stories that aren't in the book.
Oh, that's for that's why God made the happy hour, Jill. Jill Weinbanks.
Too.
Yes, exactly. The sequel.
The book is Watergate Girl. So proud of you. Love you, my friend. See you soon.
Thank you very much. You're the most wonderful. Thank you, Travis.
Thank
That's
you.
fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.